Hello, welcome to A-Train Railway Simulator. This is the attract sequence, and this is A-Train as you know and love it, updated to the very latest version, a version which only came out in Japan in June of this year, of 2014. It's substantially updated. It's got a host of new features. So what I'm doing is I'm revisiting my Let's Plays in a more of a tutorial format, and I've got two purposes here. Purpose one is to introduce the game to people who are just interested in the genre and haven't played A-Train before. Purpose two is really to show those of you that have played previous versions of A-Train before why A-Train Railway Simulator is the best version by far, and it really is the best version by a long way. It's got a lot of the must-have features and the really wanted features that the previous versions didn't have. They've really gone out on a limb to produce the very best version yet. So, without further ado, let's get on with the game. If I just click and bring up the menu, you can see I'm actually doing this test on a release candidate version here. There is still a little bit of localization to be done. So if you spot any spelling mistakes or anything like that, rest assured we've got teams still working on it, making this the best release possible. Okay, so I'm in the new game menu, and the new games are split basically into three. Version 1, these were the maps which came with the original release of the game a few years ago. Version 2, and new version V3, which is for A-Train Railway Simulator. Those with 1.1 in the top left hand corner have the one-to-one functionality. Now I'll show you what that is in a later video, but for now what I want to do is just get on and really show you how the game works. So let's click on one of these new maps and get straight on with it. Which one shall I choose? Let's go for this one. Okay, start new game. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the menu options, quickly go through the navigation and the menu options, and really show you guys how the game works and show you a few of the new features. Video 2 will be more extensively on the new features, and video 3 will be on some of the subtler things you can do and how you can adapt the game to your style of play. That's how I'm going to work it. I'm going to try and keep each video to well under 15 minutes, if at all possible. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is show you a new feature, picture-in-picture, or as they call it in this wipe, which allows you to look at more than one thing at once. This will bring up a list here of all your trains that are available, and you can click on each one, and you can either follow it, and you do still have mouse functionality within this small box window, or you can actually ride with it. Go inside it, and that's handy if you're doing several things at once. It's just nice to look at sometimes as well. Navigation is the same as before as far as moving around the map is concerned, and the map is huge. I mean, the map is ginormous. If you look at where we are now, we're just looking at sort of this area of the map. I play other games including the latest SimCity 2013, and the map size in this is 16 times bigger, something of that order. It may be bigger than that still. They are enormous and really let you go as deeply and as complex as you like. And it's a very light application. Despite being graphically very pleasing to the eye, it doesn't take up a lot of system resources. It really is a well-coded bit of software. So, moving on from that little bit of sales spiel really, let's have a look at how this how you move. You have this nav bar, compass bar, which we've seen before. It's unusual to see this. It's not something many games have. I have seen a real-time strategy game that's had something like this in the past. But you can move your elevation or your distance from the center point of the screen using that control there. You can also turn it, and you can also alter. You can turn it the other way quickly, and you can zoom in onto various areas as well. So that's quite handy, quite quick if you're not used to it. If you are used to it, what I'd say though is most people will end up using the mouse, and the controls using the mouse are very similar to most real-time strategy games and similar games in those genres. The left mouse button fixes the mouse pointer and allows you to drag the screen relative to the mouse pointer. The center wheel zooms in on the mouse pointer or back from it, so that's handy from zooming in any axis. Most of you use it in the Z axis to move close to the ground, but it'll just zoom in closer to the mouse pointer no matter where the mouse pointer is. And the right mouse button fixes the mouse in the center of the screen and allows you to rotate around. So that's pretty standard stuff, and once you're used to it, it's pretty simple. Okay, so let's go through some of these at the top here. File, the usual. Start a new game, open a game, create a custom game, end the game. We've already seen that menu. Rail allows you to really get started. Here's where the funky stuff starts. So let's pick I don't really want to go all over this lovely farmland. Let's pick an area that isn't farmland so I can extend this railway. God, look at this. They built at the end of that line, but I'm going to build anyway. Okay, so if I zoom in on this, you'll see that at the end of my mouse pointer now is a piece of rail. If I want to build a standalone piece of rail, it really is as simple as clicking the mouse pointer and dragging. And you can see you can put it in I think there's about 32 different points of the compass it will fix to. Yes, 30, pretty certain it's 32. And you can have it bend or whatever. For control, I would use smaller stretches so you get more control. But to actually place it, just click again, and then it'll ask you to confirm, and you can move around while you're asking before you confirm it. Click fix, and there you are. There's your first bit of line. You want to join to another piece of line. Click on an existing piece until the end of your cursor is yellow, and then it will allow you to spur off. And where it allows you to spur elsewhere will be where it goes yellow. So if it's yellow, it's legal. The reason it isn't yellow everywhere is because trains simply can't go around very tight corners. It's not realistic. They have quite a long wheelbase, quite a long distance between the bogies, for those of you that know, and they would simply come off the track, and those of you that know about hunting and tracking and stuff like that will understand why you can't have sharp curves on a railway. So if I click there and fix again, and it highlighted, did you notice it highlighted those trees in red? Because I've had to pay for those trees to be demolished. Oh dear, that's not very eco-friendly of me, is it? And the amount of cash that's cost has been deducted from there. So I'm going to go to station now. Now, the number of stations in here has increased dramatically, and it's already gone to a depot station, which I love the look at this. I love trains driving through things, tunnels and depots. Really adds to the interest. Elevated stations, all the terminal stations, I mean, wonderful stuff. I'm just going to show you a ground level station. Number of platforms, I'm just going to have a 3-platform station. Sorry, a 3-length train station with 1 platform. So that means the train can have no longer than 3 elements, and there's only going to be 1 platform. Now, once you've got the rail there, you can rotate it. Let's have a look. Where should we put it? Where should we have this? Should we have it? There we are. I'm clicking the center mouse button to rotate the station now. It would be awkward to put it there, but you can put it there. Yeah, it'll let me. And once again, it's highlighting some trees in red to say that I'm going to be deleting those trees. There you go. I've now placed that station there. I'm going to come out of that. That's fantastic. Okay, so I've made pretty much a useless looking station there, because any train that goes there is going to have to really find a way to get in and out of it. It's going to involve shunting up this little spur here and back around there. It has to be a very small train. So I'm going to add a little bit more track. Go to track again, lay, and let's just add a bit more track. There we are. Once again, it's going to cost me a bit to demolish those trees. And I could add another station there, and once it's the same station type, it defaults to the station type you last used. But if I wanted to have a longer platform here for some reason and allow for 4 trains to arrive, because maybe down here it's a little side station, this can be a major one, I could, and then I can butt the existing track onto any platform of that station. If I come in close, you see that the track will allow me to butt anywhere. So I'm just going to place that. Cost is no object. I'm only showing you guys how it works. So there you go. Right, train. Let's move along. So I want to buy a new train. So I click on an empty slot there. Click buy. And there's quite a few. The ones that are greyed out you have to earn. They're things like the maglev and things like that. You need to earn them through the game. So I'm going to have a little commuter train, just with 3 carriages long, because after all that's as long as my station is, and I'm going to confirm the purchase of that and come out of it. Then if I click on that, I can place it. And you can see there, if I come away there and zoom in, at the end of my mouse pointer, there's the train. I can have it pointing one way, left to right, or right to left. So if I want it facing the other way, and there it is. So in a couple of seconds, there you go. And which way is it going to go when it comes to that junction? Is it going to cause a problem by going left, or is it going to go straight on? It's going to go straight on. So it's already started running. There's construction. I can build buildings, and to seed an area for growth, you can build buildings. They come in either commercial or residential, and there's also your own company offices you can build. You can build cultural centres, sports facilities, landmarks, harbours, public buildings. There's some you need to build to attract investment. Some you need to build to attract residential people. There's others which do other things. Power plants, which you need to run the whole city. The city won't work without power plants. There's ecology to think about. Once again, we'll go into all that in later videos. But let's just say you wanted to build an office building. It probably won't let us now because we're probably not near enough to a depot. But not to worry. Once again, the centre mouse is allowing me to rotate that. Yeah, I'm not next to a depot. There aren't the resources about. But there you are. That's now working nicely. So you can build lots of different things. Geo. Now this is one that wasn't utilised greatly in previous versions of A-Train. You can set the height and go up and down. This is quite the Z level. And if you're building metros and things like that, then this is very important. Also, if you're in the editor, the very similar functionality allows you to change the topography of the map. So that's a really good function, and you can change it from within the game now, which is something you couldn't do before. But previously you could only do it within the editor. If you've got the cash in the bank down here, you can change it within the game now. Project, well, here's where you can attract the maglev, and it will tell you how you can attract it, and how much it will cost. Well over $1 billion. So 5 times more than our current budget. But then you can have a maglev, and it will come from off the map onto your map, and that's a fantastic addition, and it looks really good. You can have 2 different sorts of railroad museum. There's a golf course, airports, and Shinkansen station as well, which is great, which is the elevated station. We're not going to do any of those because you need a lot more money than you have at the start of the game to get that sorted. The market, here's where I got to in my previous Let's Plays. The market now is actually a lot tougher. I could really manipulate the market with ridiculous ease previously. Now it takes a lot longer for the fluctuations of shares to occur, but you can still make money on the market. And if you're going to fill this entire map and have the sort of the railway structure of your dreams, it's probably a good idea to learn how to do this. And in one of the more advanced tutorials, I'll be showing you how you can play the market, how to make a lot of money doing that. Reports, you have your city information, your railroad information, so we'll go through those. Your name of your city, so it's not named at the moment, how big it thinks it is, what type it is, how the population's growing, all the industry ratios, so how much of your city or the area is agricultural, commerce, business, industrial, and the list of your facilities that you've built for traffic and for moving people about. Railroad, company name, number of stations, crossings, number of bus stops, the economic information. This is great. It shows you year by year, month by month, how you're getting on, whether you're running at a profit or a loss. If you overbuild on power plants and things like that, you can run at a loss for a while. If you spend a lot of money on buildings and factories, they'll cost rent before they fill up with people and start making you money. But that's a balancing act because they will also attract people. So you sort of buy them now to make money later in the game, and you have to be a bit canny. You have to have your economic head on. Your balance sheets, which go into as much detail as you want. You don't have to be worried about this. All you're really interested in is the bottom line. And if any of these suddenly go horribly red and start to decrease quickly, then it's worth looking at that one individually. But it's not something you need to study endlessly. And then your energy information. So currently we're getting all our energy from wind. 12,000 kilowatts, which is 12 gigawatts. So that's fantastic. Or megawatts, isn't it? 12 megawatts. And what we're using and how much of it is clean, and for the ecology and your usage. Custom. This is a fantastic feature which I'll go into in detail. Now the trains can come, you can create custom trains, put a loco at the front and decide which carriages go behind the loco. fantastic, and you can do it for either freight or passenger, so you can have your own unique trains running. And this game also includes steam trains, so that's a major plus. Options, we'll just run through those. Side menu, which of these elements you want. If you like a nice clean display, you can turn these elements off. They also have, most of them have the dismiss button, the X at the bottom right. Whether you want things displayed in kilometres, whether you want the grid displayed, whether you want the fixed viewpoint, various elements to help you optimize for your system in terms of the graphics it displays, whether you want the weather on and off, or turn the rain off it goes, turn it back on again, how heavy or light you want it to show up as, where the game pauses, so you may want it to pause at certain points at the end of the year or just before the tax year comes, so you can make sure you've got enough money to pay the tax man, etc. The schedule, this is an important one. This is one that by default most of these are unticked, but if you want absolute control of every element in the game, which you can do, I would tick all of these. I'll show you why in the next video. That's important for those of you that want the absolute nth level of control within the game. Data display or train information, you can see that comes up. You can see number 3, it's how much it's making, how many passengers it's got on board, all that kind of stuff it shows, all that good stuff. Or you can turn it off if you find that cumbersome and ruins your immersion or your reality. Interface, quite simple, display the simple box area, or display the larger box which gives you more information. And then system, whether you want your music, sound effects, etc. So the important one here is probably the schedule button, because most of you are going to want to tick all of those. So we've run along the top. We've created our first line, we've bought our first train, we've set it on a basic schedule, well, it's set its own, and it's off and running. And as you can see there now, train 3 has appeared in there. So here it is. Here's train 3. That's the train we've just built. We can track it, or we can move away from here now, go somewhere else on the map. But that train will remain, the one we've just built will remain in that window. I think it's a fantastic feature. Some other the new features in the game, as well as metros, it now supports 4K resolution, so 4 times 1920 by 1080. If you have a monitor that supports that resolution, A-Train will now do that. Obviously there's a picture-in-picture, there's the metros, there's the steam trains, there's a lot of new elements, art elements. There are suspension bridges and lever bridges in the game. The economy is improved, the graphics are improved, so things like the water textures are a lot better, and Degica are committed to supplying you with the best possible support for the long term for this game. We're currently looking at supplying more trains and train styles and types to the game, which is something we'll be doing, and where possible those will be free of charge as well, so we won't be charging you for the DLC from that point of view, at least not if we, that's our aim, that's our very strong aim to do that. So there we are, there's an introduction to the game and how you get started. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's the first of 3. If you want to see more elements and look more deeply into new elements, see video 2, and if you want to see how you set up for gameplay and more subtle ways like that, look at video 3, and hopefully within sort of an hour of picking up the game, you're playing it like a pro and really enjoying what is a fantastic game in A-Train Rail Simulator. Thanks for your time. Signing off.